Welcome to the NintenFusion podcast, a podcast that fuses past, present, and future Nintendo thought. I'm David, accompanied by my friend
Jordan.
This episode is all about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and our looking back on the last 3 years. Now, Jordan, I want you to picture yourself back in 2018, right? Because that's when the trailer first launched. It was like 6 months before the game was actually scheduled to release. Do you remember that initial trailer where we got to see the Inklings as they were, shooting at each other, all going in and out of the ink, and we were all like, what is this? They literally just showed us footage for Splatoon 2, and then everything gets dark, and we see the reflection in the Inkling's eyes, and boom! Suddenly, the Smash logo's on fire with all of the returning characters just staring at the Inklings. What were your initial thoughts on that whole experience?
That was a really hype way to go about introducing Smash Brothers. They immediately knocked it out the park with like the most kind of obvious character to include into the game. Beyond that, I don't think there were really any other obvious characters except maybe Isabelle, although a lot of people probably would have disagreed at the time.
Yeah, I I totally agree with that. Isabelle has definitely become a staple, a mascot for Nintendo in a lot of ways. So she was a perfect fit. But yeah, that trailer was just so epic. I had wanted the Inklings for Smash, as soon as Splatoon came out. I thought Splatoon was an awesome game, and it lined up perfectly. But it led into some interesting debate in the following weeks and months where everyone was like, wait, is this a port of Smash Bros. For Wii U to the Switch, or is this a whole new game? Do you remember that discussion?
I do, and I remember saying on the podcast that I thought that was kind of a dumb thing to criticize, or even think, because their entire argument was just that, it's reusing a bunch of the same assets or models or whatever, and it's just like, that
right.
That doesn't mean it's the same game. Like,
it's a fighting game. It's like, Street Fighter hasn't really changed its premise, but they've redone a lot of the code, and
one I like
maybe
to talk
they've reused
about
pieces
a lot is Majora's Mask shares the same assets as Ocarina of Time. Would you say Majora's Mask is a different game than Ocarina of Time?
Absolutely.
They use the exact same models. So,
and I mean, even you could go even farther and be like, well, Mario 64 uses the same engine with Ocarina of Time. Are they remakes of each other?
Well, then, is every Bethesda game the same? Because they all just use the same engine? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was kind of... I couldn't quite follow, why people thought, this was just going to be a port.
Yeah.
Especially since, if you actually do look at, the model work between Smash 4 and Ultimate, you can tell, there's a big difference between, the engine going on and, the lighting and the graphics. And it's not just the same models. They definitely use the previous models as a base to quickly get up to speed with this game, but it is quite a bit more different than I guess people were expecting. But I don't know. It was interesting, especially since people were holding on to the idea that it was just a port even after the game released, even though there was, from a gameplay perspective, very little in common between Ultimate and Smash 4. But that discussion has kind of died down since then. I think everyone kind of has finally come to terms with the fact that this is definitely a sequel.
Yes, and even then, I would say most people agree that the mechanics of this game are better than Wii U in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I have heard a few people who disagree, oddly enough.
Which is bizarre.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't like the buffering mechanics of this game. So, when you get,
that's fair.
To the nitty-gritty of it, the buffering mechanics can be kind of annoying in that it will cause some bad inputs. But from the rest of the mechanics are definitely a lot more solid than Smash 4 or Brawl, for that matter.
Right, and I mean, the game plays super well. It actually handles wireless controls really well. Honestly, I think better than the Wii U actually did. And it also had quite a few options for other types of controllers as well. I mean, the Wii U had a whole bunch of controllers, and you could plug in your GameCube controllers with the adapter, but the Switch, with how popular it is, there are so many different ways to actually plug in controllers and play with them. In fact, I actually read something just earlier this week that the Switch actually manages to process wireless controllers slightly faster than it does the wired ones. Like you get slightly less input lag if you're using a Pro controller. I don't know if you'd ever heard that.
I have heard that, but I also heard that it's inconsistent. So
Yeah,
like with wireless, you'll sometimes get inputs that are faster and then sometimes get inputs that are slower, completely
right.
depending on like the noise in the area. So if you want consistency, you still want to stick with the wired controllers.
Right. And then just learn whatever the lag is or whatever. Even though there's really hardly any from at least my experience and from what I've seen playing. But anyway, I think that's enough talking about like the core mechanics of the game. You know, it's Super Smash Brothers. It's platform based fighting where you just hit each other with regular attacks, charge attacks, special moves, and your positioning in the air or on the ground really helps determine, you know, your advantage in the game. And I'm sure that there are tons of YouTubers and Smash Brothers professional players that have broken down exactly what makes this game absolutely incredible and why so many people love playing it. But we're not really here to talk about the nitty-gritty mechanics because neither of us play this game professionally.
No, I do play quite a bit as a casual fan. I have
Mhm.
logged in around 400 hours or so into Ultimate. But the reason for this episode is now that Smash is over, we kind of just wanted to go and do a sunset show and talk about like all of the entire package of what Smash Ultimate was,
Yeah.
and kind of like what it accomplished, and our thoughts on kind of the final character being Sora. At
Mhm.
eventually when we get to that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the best place to start with this is to talk about how much content they just straight up brought back. You know, like this is Smash Brothers Ultimate. The big tagline during the reveal, or well, not the reveal, the trailer that came after was "Everyone is here." They brought back characters that we hadn't seen in a while that didn't make it to Wii U, or characters that, you know, hadn't been super around as much. Like they got rid of for example, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, but the main example that I can think of is Pokemon Trainer. You know, back on the Wii U game, they only had Charizard, and that was cool. But a lot of people really missed the Brawl version where you had three different Pokemon that you could control. Smash Ultimate brought back the Pokemon Trainer, and he had all three Pokemon. Smash Ultimate also brought back Young Link and Toon Link at the same time, and there were plenty of other instances of decisions that they made about this. Wasn't Snake also a returning character? I can't remember if he was
Yes.
in Wii U or
So
not.
Snake was kind of like the big reveal that everyone is here because Snake missed out on Smash 4. Everyone kind of just assumed that Snake was an impossible character to get because Konami kind of completely imploded as a company. Um, and it was I'm sure Snake was pretty high in the ballot for people
Yeah,
to return because we learned quickly on in the ballot of Smash 4 that a lot of the characters that were requested were characters from previous games that people kind of latched onto and wanted to see return, which I think
right.
was the inspiration to bring Ultimate back because when Sakurai saw the ballot, he's like, oh, most of these characters are characters we already did, but we just thought people didn't really care about. It turns out people really do care about the characters that we put into work into. Even
Yeah.
characters like Roy, who uh, on the grand scheme of things is not very important
No,
in the
he's not even
universe of
important in
Nintendo.
Fire Emblem.
Yeah, but like as a Smash Bros character, he's I
Roy's
don't
our
know if I
boy.
want to say iconic, but you want him there.
Exactly. Yeah, and it was just so cool. I just remember being so filled with joy seeing the words "Everyone is here." And they also brought back the vast majority of the stages. One notable exception is Poke Floats, but I don't think too many people actually miss that from a gameplay standpoint.
I mean, I do. One of my favorite things to do in Melee was to go to Poke Floats and do a special Melee where everyone is set to tiny and then only have poison mushrooms as the only item
Oh.
in the game. And so
So you
you
get
have
even
to like,
smaller.
yeah, so then you're like these little tiny fleas jumping between the floats. From a casual's perspective, I was pretty disappointed to see Poke Floats
Yeah,
gone.
yeah. I can't think of any other stages that really didn't make a comeback. I know they also tried to bring back as much of the music as they possibly could. Of course, that doesn't include many of the hidden songs that were found in Brawl's code that never made it into the game, but it was still like so cool to see it be a huge celebration of Smash Brothers. And Smash Brothers is already a celebration of everything that is Nintendo. And it was so cool seeing them all return. But then on top of that, they weren't just like, oh, everyone's here, but then they started revealing new characters and even a new subclass of characters called Echo Fighters. And I don't know which ones you want to talk about first, Jordan. Maybe we go over the Echo Fighters.
I kind of want to go over Echo Fighters because it was very interesting in that up until Smash Ultimate, everyone hated clones. Anytime a clone was put in, it was always just, everyone just immediately assumed that it was a wasted slot because it meant that we didn't get real character, even though that never was how it worked. Clone characters take less time, so it's either you have the clone characters or you don't. It's not an either clone character or a non-clone character. And so Smash Ultimate rebranded them as Echoes with Daisy. And then I guess it finally just clicked in the Smash community's mind that, oh, these are lesser than than characters, so therefore it's not a wasted slot. And so people shifted from being like absolutely hating on clones to, yeah, we want more clones. Clones are great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I know of some of our own friends that thought that. Yeah. So it was really cool to see all these Echo Fighters being added, especially since they were given the same number, because that was one thing that Smash Ultimate did, is they took all of the characters and assigned them individual roster numbers that was based on when they were actually added to Smash Brothers, which that was pretty cool. But then the Echoes were all the same number as their original fighter, just with the Epsilon signal next to it, indicating it was an Echo. And the Echo Fighters that ended up being revealed or like confirmed were Dark Samus for Samus, Daisy for Peach, Chrom for Roy, right? That's who he was connected to, even though he has some similarities with Ike as well. Then Ken for, oh my gosh, I am totally blanking on his name. Ryu. Thank you. I was about to say Street Fighter Man. And then Richter, which he was revealed alongside Simon as one of the new characters.
Yeah, and they also reclassified Lucina and Dark Pit as Echoes as well. Oddly enough, they didn't reclassify Dr. Mario.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I still don't understand that one. And I also don't understand why they couldn't classify Alf as an Echo.
Yeah, he was just a skin for Olimar. They could have adjusted his movement or something. Like, I don't know. I mean, this is just a totally brief aside, but Alf could have been given the flying Pikmin as his up special, and then Olimar could have had the original chain up special from Brawl.
I don't think that would have been much work either. So
no.
It was a kind of a missed opportunity, but I don't think it matters too much in the long scheme of things. I don't think there are any Alf fans bent out of shape that it doesn't have an Epsilon.
I love Alf. Are you kidding me? He's the best Smash Brothers character. Just kidding. But no,
honestly,
like,
I think
he's really cool.
Everyone kind of just forgets Alpha's in the game, even.
Yeah. And then they're cycling through all of the alts for Olimar when they have to pick Olimar in classic mode. And they're like, oh yeah, Alpha's here.
Yeah, I really like the clones. I'm pretty happy Daisy got in. Daisy's been a character I've been wanting for quite a long time, actually. She's one of my favorite Mario characters.
She's incredible.
I just love how obnoxious her voice is and just all the memes surrounding her.
Right, so. But it's like perfectly obnoxious. You know, it's endearing.
I do wish her taunt was "Hi, I'm Daisy" in her normal,
I know.
But oh well.
Yeah. Daisy is my little sister's favorite character, and she will literally say, "Hi, I'm Daisy" every time we play Mario Kart or Smash Brothers, and she chooses Daisy. It's great.
Dark Samus was a bit of surprise. I did not. I'm curious if Dark Samus did pretty well on the ballot.
Must have,
because the like, and we'll get back to this later when we talk about other characters that came in, but everyone's mindset when voting on the ballot was that this was going to decide the one character in the DLC for Smash 4. And since Ridley was already a boss in Smash 4, I don't think Ridley did as well as he probably should have in the ballot. I don't think people were voting for him. And so I assume the Metroid community kind of just all gave up on Ridley and jumped on to Dark Samus. And so she probably did better than you would have expected in the polls. And that might have been why they decided to make her into an Echo.
That's a really good point. I agree with that, actually. That makes a lot of sense. But I love Dark Samus. You know, last week we talked about Metroid so much, and I won't rehash it all here, but Metroid Prime, man. And Dark Samus, so cool. Plus, they gave her a lot of really cool, unique animations where she's actually floating in the air instead of grounded like regular Samus. They modified all the colors of her weapons to match the Phazon coloring. It was perfect.
Yeah, they gave her a different dodge. I really, really wish her dodge was a bit more where she did the dot. It was her dodge from Metroid Prime 3, where it makes like an after image of her dodging the opposite direction just to like trick out your opponent. And that was like her gimmick or something.
Yeah. They did bring that back in her victory animations. Like that wasn't one of her victory animations. So,
Yeah.
but it would have been cool if it was actually mechanically useful. But
Yeah.
oh
One
well.
disappointment I have with Echoes is I kind of wish they had like the same movesets of the characters, so there's not a lot of work to them, but they would tweak like base stats of the characters. So say like Daisy is faster than Peach but hits lighter or something instead of being
Right.
exactly
Because
the
Daisy
same.
and Peach are identical.
And there are a few characters that do have some differences, like Lucina, her whole sword is the tipper, whereas with Marth it's just the tip that's the tipper.
hmm
Or with Crom, I guess only the Fire Emblem characters get like any work put into them. But Crom would have a different up B where it was a lot more similar to Ike's.
Rather than Roy's fire up slash, which in a lot of ways, Roy is also an echo of Marth.
I know.
But not really. It's weird.
So Crom is a super echo, and
Yes.
we'll get into the Fire Emblem issue later on.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But I think it's good to move on to like the actual new characters that were included in the base game now, since we've talked about these new echoes and the reclassification of some of the characters.
Well, before we get down into the base game,
Okay.
what do you think, like, how would you rate this selection of echoes? Or were there other echoes that you think would have been a better pick than the ones we got?
I really appreciate all of these different echoes. Like we've already talked about, I think Dark Samus is great and Daisy's great. I think those are probably my top two of the new Echo Fighters that were added to the game. Ken and Richter also just make sense. You know, it increases the appearance or the popularity, like the amount of content from their respective series. I think that the base game could have given us more Echo Fighters than it actually did.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really appreciate the selection that we have right here. Like Dark Samus is obviously my favorite. Daisy's a long time coming to Smash. Ken was reminiscent of Ken is the first Echo of fighting games, even because he was an Echo in I don't know which Street Fighter. I'm not too familiar with Street Fighter, but
Neither
so it
am
makes
I.
a lot of sense for him to be there. Richter. It was never really known whether Richter or Simon would get in if a Belmont were to get in, it would be either Richter or Simon.
Yeah, I remember that discussion.
Because those were like the most popular, depending on where you kind of got into the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all these characters were really solid choices. If we were able to get more, Octolink would have been pretty sweet.
Yes. I'm still surprised that never came in even as DLC.
One of some sort of Sonic character to echo Sonic would be really good.
Right? Either Tails or Knuckles would have been perfect.
Yeah. Or even Metal Sonic or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Metal Sonic would have probably been easier in a lot of ways. I don't know, just I'm trying to think of any others. I know that the community is just filled with potential Echo Fighters. I know there are probably threads upon threads filled with ideas.
Dixie Kong would have been great.
Yeah, Dixie would have been awesome. Even Funky Kong as an echo of Donkey Kong would have been really cool because Funky is apparently pretty popular in the Donkey Kong community. Yeah. I don't know. There are lots. There are plenty of different options. I know we have tons of fighters already, but echoes are very minimal effort. They just have to add the model, and apparently they don't do any sort of extra rebalancing with them, so they could do whatever they wanted with them. And it would have been pretty simple. But
I would give this selection of Echo characters an 8 out of 10. It was really solid.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The room for improvement would have been more Echo Fighters in the base game, for sure. So,
like even Crom, as much as I am tired of Fire Emblem characters, out of all the Fire Emblem characters, he was probably the one. I don't know if probably most deserving.
Yeah,
just because he was teased to be Smash 4. And then was also responsible for the game that revitalized the franchise. I'd say Crom makes more sense to be in this game than either Roy or even Ike, as much as Ike is my favorite Fire Emblem character.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, actually. He was enormously important. I know that we already have Robin and Lucina in the game, and they came before he did, but yeah, I think Crom was very deserving. I think the Echo Fighters are a really great, reclassification and addition to the game, and I hope that future titles expand on the idea even further. But I think we should move on to the new characters that came with the base game. So the new characters that came with the base game, and they were all revealed in this order. And I still remember the reveal trailers. They were all so cool and interesting. First, we had Inkling. Of course, that came with the very first trailer. Then we had Ridley. Then we had Simon, along with Richter as his Echo. We had King K. Rool. We had Isabel. And we had Incineroar. Honestly, like just putting the rating out there, I think that this is easily a 9 out of 10 when it comes to new character additions that they put in the base game. My only room for improvement here is, as cool as Incineroar is as a Pokemon, I don't think he was necessarily the best choice.
I think he was one of the worst choices they could have chosen for Pokemon, honestly.
I mean, he is a fighter and he is a heal, and it kind of works out in some ways, but I think that there are quite a few more interesting Pokemon that could have made the cut instead.
I would have preferred, like, if they had to stick with Gen 7, either Decidueye or Lycanroc, or even Mimikyu.
Those would have been cool. Or even if they wanted to do one mythical, they could have done Zeraora from Gen 7. But, oh well, that's okay. Every other character is incredible. We've already talked quite a bit about Inkling because they were the first one revealed. Their moveset's really fun. It is super unique and very much Splatoon, where you have to manage your ink. Ridley is a huge fan favorite. I was so stoked. We needed more villains.
Believe it.
Yeah, I remember. I think we were, you, me, and our other friends were all together when Ridley was revealed, right?
Yeah.
It was insane. We were all popping off.
I have been wanting this ever since before Brawl, so to finally get it was quite an emotional moment.
He's not too big. They just made him smaller.
Yeah, I think he plays really well too. He's actually my main. I've been playing him the most out of any character.
Yeah, I've noticed. You tend to kick my butt when you play Ridley.
Everyone keeps telling me he's bottom tier, and you know what? That might be true, but it doesn't mean I can't win with him.
He can knock you to the ground if he hits you with his neutral B. It's awesome. And his final smash is really cool too, where he like grabs you, throws you against Samus's ship, and then blows her ship up. I think it's really cool. Ridley's just such a cool character.
Metroid surprisingly got a lot of love in the base game.
With Dark Samus and Ridley. And they continued the split of Zero Suit Samus and regular Samus like they did in Smash 4. Yeah. So really cool.
Thankfully. no D-pad button inputs to switch between them.
Yeah, and having to like blow up your suit or rebuild it with your ultimate smash, your final smash. Yeah, great choice to have Zero Suit and regular Samus. For the longest time, Zero Suit Samus was actually my main when the game first came out. Interesting fact. So I guess you and I gravitate towards those Metroid characters. Moving on to Simon. I think Simon was a great addition. Castlevania got its start on Nintendo platforms, so it was really great to see Castlevania return.
I think Simon was kind of another miracle moment, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, Konami as a company has kind of imploded. So to get Snake back and then also Simon, who was kind of a fan favorite requested character, was that I'm not personally a huge Castlevania fan, but I definitely could like tell that was a really big get for the fans.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I don't ever play too much as him. I think he's got a cool moveset. I really like some of the details, like the fact that you can whip his chain around like you could in the original NES game. That's a really nice detail. He definitely has like items that were consistent from the original game as well. I never really caught on to playing him as a character because, we all gravitate towards our favorites. But again, huge addition to the game. Really great to see him. Then another one that kind of blew our collective minds was freaking King K. Rool. Right?
I was not expecting this at all.
No, absolutely not.
He definitely did well on the ballots. Like all the fan mock-up ballots, he was doing really well. But oh man, it was so good to see the King back, especially since he's kind of been absent in his own franchise for a while. So
right, it's been years since we've really seen him.
So hopefully this will be like a signpost to Nintendo saying, "Hey, the fans really do love our lizard man." So
that has the crazy eye and is a pirate.
Oh man, his final smash being the ending of DK64. So good.
Yeah, really great.
And they made the most amazing remix of Gangplank Galleon I had ever
Yes.
heard.
It is such a good piece of music. And don't get me started on the review or the reveal trailer, where it's just, they show off all of the villains that made it into the game. And then Diddy and Donkey are like asleep. And we were like, what's happening here? And then they bait us with King DDT. And then he comes out, King K. Rool, and just, it was so cool. Such a good moment. The reveal trailers have just all been so good. And his moveset's really fun too. The strong armor that his belly has that can break, the way he can throw his crown like a boomerang. He has the cannonball launcher like he did in Donkey Kong Country 2, and the flying jetpack. I mean, they did such good service to his character.
Yeah, incredible, honestly.
Yep.
Sakurai, he'll sometimes not put in a lot of detail, but when he does put in detail, it's really good.
Absolutely. Love King K. Rool's edition. And then we already touched on her earlier, but Isabelle, she also made it into the game.
Yeah, I think this was one of the most, obviously this is going to make it into the game.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing has become Nintendo's biggest franchise, honestly, at this point. So
Yeah, we always talk about the three pillars of Nintendo really being Mario, Pokemon, and Zelda. But Animal Crossing is the fourth pillar.
Yeah. Honestly,
easily.
At this point, I would probably say the pillars of Nintendo are Mario, Zelda, and Animal Crossing, because you get the widest reach out of those three.
Yeah.
And then Pokemon is kind of allied with Nintendo.
Yeah, because they like to do their own thing and not really wholly rely on Nintendo, even though Nintendo owns a significant portion or whatever, however.
Yeah. Well, Pokemon will never be separated from Nintendo, but it's not as much of a core identity as those other three at this point, I think.
I agree. But Isabelle was such a fun addition. It was a really fun trailer too, where she's just working in the town office and she gets the letter and she's like, oh my gosh, they invited me to Smash. And it was so cute.
I remember everyone was confused if she was going to be an Echo or not.
Yes,
it wasn't very clear. She's definitely not an Echo. She does have a lot of moves that are different, but in the trailer, it was kind of hard to really grasp that.
Right. I mean, the main things that she has in common with Villager are the pocket, and she does have a gyroid attack as well as Villager, but that's kind of where it stops. She has her fishing rod. She has the firework explosion. That's the firework popper thing that they used during New Year's in Animal Crossing. She has instead of balloon fighter, she has the the swing that has the balloon on it. Yeah. I mean, lots of similarities, of course, but you can say the same thing about the classification between Roy and Marth. But there are more differences in this case.
Isabelle was a good addition. And then, of course, Incineroar being the disappointing final character added could have been a different
I remember Pokemon. He was leaked beforehand and nobody was happy about it. And then they showed the trailer and nobody was really happy about it. Even Pokemon fans were like, are you kidding me?
If anyone listening didn't know, we had a podcast before this called The Virtual Boys, and there was one member, Skylar, who was a big fan of Incineroar. But
he was the only one I knew that was actually super hyped.
I would say this was a really, really solid selection of characters for the base game. Honestly, I would give it a 10 out of 10. Even though Incineroar is there, the mere fact that we got Ridley, Simon, and K. Rool, all three being miracle picks, is enough to bring it up to a 10 out of 10 for me.
I mean, I don't have any qualms with it. I only gave it a 9 out of 10 because I wish it wasn't Incineroar, but I do agree.
Like, your 10 make it 11 out of 10, drop Incineroar for Waluigi, but...
Yeah. Bring my man, bring the Wah. So how would you rate these characters, Jordan? Like, which one was your absolute favorite?
So my absolute favorite is definitely going to be Ridley, and then K. Rool. Those are the two characters I still play the most. I don't really play the other characters much anymore. But Ridley is definitely my go-to for anytime I play Smash Bros. Like, as soon as we start and end for the night.
Yeah. My top from the list are probably Inkling, Ridley, and K. Rool. I think Isabelle is right below that. Simon is below it, Isabelle, and Incineroar is below that. But I don't really play many of these newer characters. I tend to gravitate towards older characters that were already released, but I still think they're great additions, and they're super fun to play. It's just, they're not all my play style. Best
part about this selection is there's no Jerpaga characters.
Yeah, you've got a point. We got a lot of those. And
Which
we get more
definitely
of them
changed
in
in the DLC, let me tell you.
A
Oh,
lot.
man.
Very many of them. I guess we should then move on to DLC Fighter Pack 1, right?
Yeah. So
All right.
DLC Fire Pack 1 had Piranha Plant as a freebie, followed by Joker, then Hero, Banjo-Kazooie, Terry, and then Byleth, which is, I will say, a really mixed bag
Yep.
of characters. It's not
Yep.
like this perfect selection like the base game had for each of their two sections. Piranha Plant, very, very interesting. I dig it. I like the wild, out there kind of joke characters, and since he was
Yeah.
free, there's not a whole lot of reason to complain.
It was super left field. Even the announcement for it, we were all like, what are they doing? And then it was like, oh, it's Piranha Plant? Crazy edition. But yeah, totally wild and fun.
Yeah. Joker getting added in was definitely a big surprise, especially since at the time Persona had basically nothing to do with Nintendo.
Nope.
It was also really topical at the time, so a lot of people were really hyped. I don't know if that hype would persist if he were revealed today. But at the time, he was definitely very timely to be a very big get. I think it brought a lot of eyeballs from a different community than Smash normally appeals to.
Right, and they revealed him at the Game Awards, which huge reach when it comes to different types of gamers. So it was definitely well received.
Yeah, so I think he was well received. He was a good pick at the time. I don't think he's going to have much lasting presence, though.
Right.
Because he was very topical for the time. But that's perfectly fine. He was also definitely a big character for Sakurai. Sakurai's a big Persona fan. That's fine. We hadn't really gotten a JRPG character yet in the game, so it was fine. It's fine. I'm not.
But he was also super broken on release and is still really good.
It's still pretty broken. If we get another Smash Bros. Character, I imagine he'll get the Bayonetta effect where he just gets nerfed to oblivion.
Because Bayonetta was super broken in Smash 4, and then they made her awful in Smash Ultimate. So,
and then the next character was Hero at the Game Awards, which is an enormous character to get. Huge icon of gaming. Not so big here in America, but just because it's not big here.
Enormous in Japan.
Yeah, absolutely enormous in Japan. So definitely deserving. Honestly, I hated him when he first was revealed, but when I finally got my hands on him, I was like, all right, I get it. This is actually a really cool character to play as.
Yeah, the way that he uses his magical spells and has MP, and it's a little bit random on which spells you get access to at a time. It's a really cool character idea, and he is so iconic in the gaming world that it fits perfectly. I don't mind him.
I've shifted from being a hater to a fan. I like Hero a lot, and I hope he continues in the series. Banjo-Kazooie being the fan favorite impossibility, like no one. If you were to say back at like the first day of Smash Ultimate that Banjo-Kazooie is going to be in this, like people would just call you a troll.
Yeah, they'd say you're dumb. There's no way Microsoft owns the character, even though he appeared on Nintendo platforms. There's absolutely no way they'd let that happen. And then,
well, not only that, but he'd have to get in before Master Chief and Steve from Minecraft. So like, so the fact that he got in, that was definitely a moment of Microsoft and Nintendo definitely giving something to the fans.
Absolutely,
probably the biggest miracle of moment. Well, second biggest now.
Right.
But at the time, it was the biggest miracle character to get into the game.
And I mean, we have been wanting Banjo and Kazooie in the game since Melee. I remember hearing probably old wives' tales that have hardly any merit, but there's always the rumor floating around that Banjo and Kazooie were planned for Melee, but didn't show up because Microsoft managed to purchase Rare around that time. And so it just didn't happen. And it's just always been something because, you know, Banjo was such an icon for Nintendo on the N64. It just, and then the reveal trailer, his reveal trailer is probably my favorite out of all of the reveal trailers for the new characters for this game because it was King K. Rool's trailer again, but then the Jiggy bounces across the floor and I was just like, no way. No way. And of course, Donkey Kong and Diddy and K. Rool were all just so excited to see Banjo and Kazooie because, you know, Rare worked on the Donkey Kong Country and DK64 games. So they were like in the hands of Rare, and to get their friend Banjo and Kazooie, who actually Banjo was in Diddy Kong Racing, was like it was just so perfect, such a perfect moment. I felt like I was DK and Diddy. Like, thank you for coming home, my favorites. I love Banjo. I love Kazooie. They're great.
I lost my mind when Banjo was revealed. I jumped out of my seat just screaming. Uh, Going into E3, we had a good idea that Banjo was coming into the game. It wasn't the best kept secret,
No.
but it was still just like a huge moment. Just because, like, yeah, like in the month before, it wasn't well kept, but even just 6 months before, it seemed like an impossibility.
Mhm.
But
For
like
sure.
an odd thing was that if you look into the files of Smash Ultimate, they have other Rareware spirits that still aren't used to this day. Like they have Blaster Core
Huh.
spirits in the game.
That's
So
interesting.
I don't know if that was like accidentally put in by Sakurai and then someone had to inform them they didn't have the rights, or if Banjo was actually planned maybe at the start to be in the base game and then got pushed back. But
Huh.
in the base game,
Interesting.
there is Rareware content for some reason.
Glad that he's here now. And honestly, Banjo Kazooie, like after they were released, they were like pretty much all I would play. I
Yeah.
really digged their moveset, their just everything about them.
I think they're one of the best feeling characters to play, to be honest. They
Mm.
feel like they've been in the game since Melee
Yeah.
and that they just evolved with the cast.
Yeah.
They don't have like these
100%.
huge gimmicks that take like just this insane amount of design space. It's like, yeah, it's Banjo and Kazooie. They do the Banjo Kazooie stuff.
Yeah, just like they would have if they were in Melee, which probably lends some credibility to the idea that they were planned for Melee. You know, they might have just dug up some old design documents and just matured them out to what they would be like in Ultimate. So
That
who
would be an
knows?
interesting. That'd be interesting if true. No idea
Yeah,
though.
Banjo Kazooie, such great reveals. And then what else did we get?
Then we got Terry, which was kind of an oddball pick. Sakurai had to explain that like the entire concept of Smash Bros came from him playing King of Fighters. But like I would say the average Nintendo fan had no clue what King of Fighters was, even though SNK has been pretty tight with Nintendo over the years. He's fine to play. He's fine in inclusion. I bet he didn't cost much money to get.
No, and he's a good pick because from what I understand, Latin America loves his games.
Yeah.
So it
it's
was
good for
a
them.
really
Like,
big reveal for them, for
there
sure.
definitely is a fan base for him. It's just I don't think he has nearly as much reach as most other Smash characters, but he
Yeah.
wasn't the biggest disappointment of this pack, let me tell you.
Yeah. Because then we got
We got Byleth, which is I still to this day cannot believe it. This is such a disappointing pick, especially since this was originally planned to be the final character added to Ultimate.
right.
Um,
It was like Corrin in Smash 4, but Corrin's better.
oh, I don't even know, man. Corrin is bad too.
Well,
Corrin's
Corrin
game
was
hadn't
super
even come out
broken.
yet.
Yeah, true.
So like this is kind of like just taking the Fire Emblem problem and dialing it up to an 11. It was such we have so many Fire Emblem characters now. And it's one thing like, oh, we just in Smash 4, we wanted Lucina in as because she's an easy echo, and then Robin gives us a new concept that's not a sword fighter, so that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. And then Nintendo wants us to advertise Corrin. Like, okay, fine. It's not great, but like you can understand that. And then
Right.
Crom comes around and it's like, all right, like he's a big fan favorite character. We can understand this. But then
He's
they
an
bring
Echo.
in
It's easy.
but then they bring in Byleth as like a character that I had already paid for. Like I could have chosen not to pick up Corrin because it wasn't part of the pass yet. And it's
Right.
just it felt so I don't know. I still don't like Byleth. I do not like this pick at all. It could have been any Nintendo first party character and I would have been more happy.
Yeah.
Well, my big issue with a lot of these Fire Emblem characters is that they're very topical for the time. Like, yeah, Fire Emblem has like a lot of games and they always change their characters. And so it's good to maybe have like those characters represent. But at the same time, Smash is a franchise that sticks around for a long time, and
Right.
we don't lose characters. Like, people stick
Nope.
around, and so it
Hmm.
just feels weird having characters like Corrin in the game still. Like, no one cares about Fates. Even the Fire Emblem community doesn't like Fates anymore.
Right.
So
It was too easy. The story was disgruntled. Yeah, I mean, I could list on and on. I enjoyed the games when I first played them, but I have not gone back to them.
and Three Houses had its fans, but it's going to be another flash in the pan moment. I don't think people are going to gravitate to Three Houses 5 years from
I
now.
bought the special edition of Three Houses, and I still haven't beat the game. I keep being
So
like, oh, I want to go back, but we can talk about that game another time.
So I don't know. It felt a little too commercial. It felt like it was pushed a little too hard from publishers, and
Hmm.
not really like a celebration of gaming for
Yeah.
this character to be here. Maybe if like Fire Emblem was more niche, then sure. But man, at this point, I'm so over it. I'm so done with Fire Emblem characters.
And that's all of the DLC Fighter Pass 1. I think it's a good deal. You know, you get a lot of characters for a decent price, and you
Yeah,
get some of the best characters in the game, at least from in my opinion. Like, if you want to win, you got to play Joker or Hero. But Banjo and Kazooie are definitely like my favorite top picks from this DLC pack. I
yeah.
was super excited for Joker. I played him a lot when he came out, um, mostly because I had just finished or was in the middle of playing through Persona 5, so it was super topical and awesome. But in all, I think this was a pretty solid DLC pack minus Byleth.
Yeah. Violet definitely brings down the score from a 5 to a 4 for me. Really, you're getting it just for Hero and Banjo, in my opinion. Honestly.
Yeah. I guess that's a DLC pass or pack 1. Now we've got DLC pack 2. This one I think has a lot more variety in a lot of ways from a moveset standpoint, but it has a lot or a couple of JRPG characters. I'll go through the list for this one. The first pick was Min Min, and if we got a character from ARMS as the main fighter character, Min Min was absolutely my choice. I did not want to see Springman as a fighter.
No, I don't think anyone wanted to see Springman. I personally would have preferred Twin Tail.
Twin Tail would have been great. Ribbon Girl would have also been good for me.
I
But
don't want Ribbon Girl and Springman are just too vanilla in my mind. I want
that's a
someone
fair
with a
point.
little more flavor to them.
Yeah, and honestly, I haven't played much of either or of Min Min, so I can't really comment too much on that. But Min Min was a great pick, I think, for representing ARMS.
Yeah.
I really think it was good. After that, we got Steve and Alex, mostly Steve from Minecraft, which that was kind of a huge announcement.
Yeah, that was definitely a big announcement, a big miracle. I said
Yep.
earlier, Banjo is probably the second most. I'm going to change that. Banjo is probably the third most miracle pick at this point, with
Mm,
Steve probably second place
yeah.
overall. Spoiler alert: the number one is Sora, but Steve getting in, like, a lot of people didn't think it was possible just because of how he moves and what kind of moveset he would have. Sakurai has proven once again that nothing's impossible so long as he actually like puts the effort into it.
Yeah, even though they had to like rebuild the internal structure of like pretty much every map to handle how he works.
Yeah. I personally wasn't too big on Steve, but I get it, and he definitely has the most reach out of any character to bring
Oh,
into Smash. So
Minecraft is one of the most successful games ever.
yeah.
So,
And if we're going to
and
get
it's
like a really successful game in, I will take Steve over Fortnite dude any day.
oh, 100%. 1 billion%. um yeah, great reveal, great pick.
I'm just
Pretty
really
fun character.
thankful that Microsoft and Nintendo decided to give us Banjo before Steve, because man, it would have been soul crushing if we got Steve before Banjo, even if we got Banjo eventually, just
I
because
agree.
like the Steve fans would have just absolutely dunked on us for a whole year. It would have been miserable, but this was the best. Both characters got in. We didn't have to no bad blood anymore.
Yeah,
um, and Steve's great.
I absolutely. After that we got Sephiroth, which I mean, he's another JRPG character, but at least he's mostly different, and he is a hugely popular villain for a lot of people. Final Fantasy VII is still one of the most like highly regarded games of all time, for what it accomplished as a video game. I know a lot of people got their start in RPGs or JRPGs with Final Fantasy VII. Plus, Final Fantasy VII is getting its remake where they're releasing chunks of the story, completely redone and beautiful, gorgeous visuals. He's a good addition to Smash Brothers, if only for how important of a character he is, even though we already have Cloud.
I think he's definitely deserving, and he's definitely an icon in gaming. At this point, the JRPG menace was kind of grating on me because at this point now half the DLC characters total have been JRPG.
Yep. But at least he was also our rep from Kingdom Hearts for a while, because he's a secret boss in pretty much every Kingdom Hearts game. So,
but at the same time, like, as much as I have been hating on the JRPG characters, or even was at the time, I don't think you really can remove any of the JRPG characters picked at this point, except for Byleth.
No.
Byleth's only the oddball out. Like, the other ones are pretty iconic. They're pretty close. Well, I wouldn't say closely tied to Nintendo. Hero's the only one tied to Nintendo. Joker and Sephiroth are more PlayStation characters.
Right.
And they have a lot of reach. Like, these were good picks. It hurt at the time not being a JRPG fan. But if you're a JRPG fan, you're probably losing your mind. It was probably just absolutely amazing. And honestly, they're well-deserved characters, except for Byleth.
And dear listener, I am a JRPG fan. Well, in a lot of ways. I haven't played as many as some people I know, but I do quite enjoy the story. I've played quite a few of them. And so it was cool to see Sephiroth, especially since I think just before his announcement, I had actually finished Final Fantasy VII Remake for the first time. So it was also topical for me, just like with Joker. But I think Sephiroth's really cool, great, fun addition. And glad that he is actually in. After that, we got Pyra and Mythra. And real fast, I just have to say, I'm a huge Xenoblade fan. Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 are definitely within like my top 10 games within the last maybe 5 years. I have such a hard time making top lists of games, but I can talk about that another time. I absolutely adore those games. Pyra and Mythra are some of my favorite characters from the Xenoblade series, and it was really cool to see them added, especially since we didn't get Rex, because as much as I loved Rex in the story of the game, I found him way more annoying than Shulk, and Pyra and Mythra were much more grounded characters that actually meant more to me than Rex did. So, plus, I think that they're really fun characters, and I know, Jordan, you've played them quite a bit.
Yeah, so I, of course, being a JRPG hater or whatever, was not happy when they were revealed, but they are one of my mains at this point. I honestly, if I want to win the game, then I'm going to pick Pyra or Mythra at this point. They're pretty powerful. It's like if you took Ganondorf and Sheik and slammed them into one character, but which just gives you options. And then I don't know, man. This one's really hard for me to kind of judge, because on one hand, I think Xenoblade definitely deserves a second rep.
I agree.
It's definitely well deserving of that second character slot. I think the only issue here is just the pacing of the characters being released in Ultimate's DLC, where it's just so many DLC one after the other. This isn't another Byleth moment. I think this is definitely a character that was needed. I honestly would have preferred them taking the slot over Byleth and then maybe just slamming someone else right here, or even better, replace Incineroar with Pyra, because I think Pyra kind of fits better as a base game character.
I agree, actually. I know that Xenoblade 2's development kind of aligned with Smash Bros. In a lot of ways, where they hadn't finished enough of Xenoblade 2 for them to consider adding any of the characters from the game into base Ultimate, which is why it took Pyra and Mythra until a DLC edition. But I kind of wish that the timelines aligned a little bit better so that Pyra and Mythra were base game characters.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I understand it was an impossibility, or at least extremely difficult to get them into base game. I'm just saying, like, in an ideal world, that would have been great to just move them to a different spot. Because that's really my only complaint with Pyra and Mythra, is just the placement of release schedule for them. Because man, if you weren't a JRPG fan, it was feeling pretty dry out there during Second Pass DLC.
Yep. Absolutely. But I think that they're great additions. I love the characters. I really do.
I think they're pretty fun to play. Yeah.
And then after that, we got Kazuya. He fits into the game. I don't really care for him.
I I have words to say about Kazuya. I don't think he fits here. I don't think they should have brought him in. And I know I'll get a lot of hate for it. I play a lot of Kazuya. I think he's fun. I think he's entertaining. I don't think Tekken has anything to do with Nintendo, to be honest. Like all these other games that come, all these other franchises that are kind of more associated with Sony, um, I can get it. Like there's a lot more tie back and forth or whatever, and like even if the games themselves aren't in the Nintendo community, um, the fans definitely are. There's a lot of overlap there. But with like Tekken, it just feels so jarring. And I get that he has to be in there just because like Namco made the game, and so we needed a Namco character. And honestly, Namco doesn't have a lot of characters to kind of pull from. But man, honestly, it might have been better to go with like Dark Souls here,
Yeah, I agree with that.
because Kazuya just looks like a generic dude, and it just kind of looks really jarring next to the rest of the Smash Bros. Cast.
Yeah, since most Nintendo characters are incredibly like stylized, very comical, and he's just like, I'm a fighter.
Now, with that said, Kazuya is a huge icon. Tekken is one of
Yes.
the most important franchises
Oh,
ever made.
absolutely.
Very revolutionary. It's a big get. It
Yeah.
just man, could you imagine if this was the final character
Oh
for
man,
Smash
I'd be so
Ultimate?
mad. I wouldn't have bought the pass probably. Pyra and Mithra definitely would have made me buy it, but I would have been really disappointed for sure.
Yeah.
So
I think he's fun, good for the Tekken fans. And there's a lot of
he
Tekken
only fits
fans.
in Smash because of his position of how popular Tekken is.
He fits in Smash because of because of who made the game,
Yeah.
and ties to Sakurai, and just how popular Tekken is. But man, I have to say, out of all the characters in Smash Bros, he definitely feels the weirdest inclusion.
At least we got a huge get with the final character that was revealed just a few weeks ago and actually released, I guess, within the last week. Sora. Now, Sora is one of my favorite characters in video games. Period. I have a very long history with Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts was actually my first JRPG game. I fell in love with the story. I really loved Sora as a character. I mean, ever since Kingdom Hearts came out, I've been a fairly big fan of Kingdom Hearts, though I haven't been much of a PlayStation person, so it took me a while to get fully caught up on the series leading up to Kingdom Hearts 3. But anyway, Sora is an enormous get. And like you mentioned earlier, he was such an impossibility to be added. I know so many people wanted him in the game. So many people have been asking for him since who knows how long, since Brawl potentially. But the way that he is held by Nintendo or by Disney for rights, it just seemed like he would never make it into Smash Brothers, period. But he did, and it was honestly kind of awesome. I know a lot of people aren't 100% thrilled. You know, they don't care too much for Kingdom Hearts, but for how important he is as a character in video gaming, he is hugely, hugely welcome, in my opinion.
I think no matter who the character was, there would be people who would have complained. But honestly, as much as I don't like JRPGs, I think Sora is the biggest possible character. Well, not biggest possible character, but like the most fitting final character for that we could have gotten to be the
Yeah.
final character.
I agree. And-
Like Sakurai said, he was at the top of the ballot. Now I will preface that the ballot was with the intention to be DLC for Smash 4, so that kind of skews things now. If they had done the ballot, I don't know, at the beginning of the Smash Ultimate DLC cycle, I imagine it would have looked a bit different. I imagine characters like Waluigi would have scored higher than they did. But even then, I'm pretty sure Sora still would have been, if not near the top, definitely well, if not the top, then definitely near the top.
Yeah, I agree.
He was also kind of topical at the time of the ballot because that's when like there was a lot of hype for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yep.
So I don't know how much his ballot results were skewed, but I don't think that like discredits just how big of a get it is. One is it was an impossibility. Even Sakurai himself said he was really surprised. Just Square themselves are not easy to work with, and then you add in Disney on top of it, and it's just that must have been a nightmare.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, it was apparently so hard that in the stage that he has, Hollow Bastion, when you're down to like one stock, when you have stage hazards on and it shifts over to the deep dive into the heart area, the images in the back for a lot of those characters, Sora in particular, they should have other Disney characters with them. Sora's big image in the background is supposed to have Donald and Goofy there, but instead they put the ship that he built with Riku and Kairi and a Papo fruit. And it was like, oh, okay. Disney was like, you can have Sora, but nobody else. I mean, you do get the spirits that have a lot of the other Kingdom Hearts based characters like Riku, Kairi, Ventus, Ven, and Aqua, and all of those characters. But like, no pictures of Donald and Goofy. None of the music that's from any of the non Disney or the Disney world based stages. Like, none of that. It was Sora and pure Kingdom Hearts characters only. So, and I'm okay with that, but it just goes to show like it must have been quite the legal proceeding to get him in.
yeah, and like I said, while I'm not personally a huge fan, I definitely get it. Like this is one of the biggest moments of Smash history, honestly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, as far as how he plays, I'm not a huge fan. He's just he feels like a character ripped from Brawl.
I agree with that. Actually, that's kind of where I was going with it. I played with him for a little while today before recording. He is so light. He is honestly kind of slow, even when he dashes. And he has so much aerial motion that it's kind of gross.
I was
like,
really hoping that he had aerial speed with it too.
Yeah, but he's super floaty in the air still.
He's slow in the air. I don't understand. Oh man.
Like
I don't
his
like him.
gliding in the Kingdom Hearts games, and when he's in the air, he moves super fast. So it's honestly kind of weird. It must have been like some sort of balancing choice, because if they let Sora dominate the air, like I don't think he could lose.
Yeah. We'll see how good he is in competitive play.
Yeah.
But I honestly have just not been enjoying playing as him. But happy he's here. Good for the fans.
Yep.
He'll exist on the menu for anyone who decides to play him on my Switch, but I don't think I'm going to play much of him.
I don't know. I'll have to see. I like Pyra and Mithra a lot more from this DLC pack than I like Sora. So
yeah, honestly, I think Pyra and Mithra are going to be the characters I play the most out of this, and then maybe Steve. I don't like how Sephiroth plays. There doesn't seem to be a lot of synergy with any of his moves. It just feels like a collection of references to a game that I've never played.
I can see that.
And then Min Min just feels way too linear as a character for me.
Mm-hmm. She requires that distance and being on the ground. So
yeah, she doesn't have a lot of variety or like tools for her. She just has like one really powerful thing and then just pushes it as much as possible. And if your opponent breaks through it, then you're she's good. She's powerful, but I don't think she has a lot of options.
Right.
Which is what
I agree. So in all, I'd say that this DLC pack, it was pretty good. Probably, again, 4 out of 5 for me. Only really weighed down by Kazuya.
I would say 4 out of 5 as well. Like I said, I like playing as Kazuya. I think he has a lot of interesting options to him, but definitely not hype. The hype characters here, I guess, were Steve and Sora, and I guess Sephiroth as well. So you still have like those miracle picks that the first DLC pack had.
Right.
There's no Byleth in here that kind of weighs anything down.
Right.
But for me personally, I'd say probably a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
It just didn't have anything for me specifically to get excited about.
I mean, Sora for me, and also Pyra and Mithra, like I didn't buy the DLC until Sora's announcement. After Sora's announcement, I was like, you know what? I need to buy the DLC now. I need to show that I kind of support these picks. So I did. I don't know. I just haven't played Smash very much in the last year or so. But anyway, I think that in all, there were some really great characters added to Smash Ultimate. I think Smash Ultimate is now truly like a celebration and bastion of gaming as a whole, especially when it comes to its character picks. Lots of great icons across pretty much every genre of gaming. And just really happy to see all of these characters here, except for a couple, I guess.
I would have really loved to see Waluigi get added
Yeah,
in.
me too.
My new most wanted character has shifted to Doom Guy, which I was
Mm,
pretty ecstatic to see that we got a Mii costume for Doom Guy. Not just a Mii costume, but like one of the special ones where they change the models
yeah,
for
that
the
was really
Mii.
cool.
I wish we kind of got at Doom's Gate with it, but what can you do?
Right. I'm still going to hope for Gino. Just
Yeah,
saying, I'm putting that
yeah,
out there.
right.
Still going to hope for him eventually, but it's not going to happen. But I'd love for him to finally show up.
Yeah, I at this point I'd give up on Gino. Like the further away we get um
The SNES.
from the SNES, the less likely it is for him to get in.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. This was a very interesting like speculation game because we started off with like a whole bunch of characters. Like for example, like Doom Guy. Like before Smash Ultimate was revealed, like no one was talking about him. And then as soon as like Smash Ultimate got revealed, everyone was. I jokingly said on the podcast like, "Haha, wouldn't it be like funny if we got Doom Guy?" And then he like became like one of the most requested characters in the game
Yeah.
afterwards. I'm not saying because of that podcast, but I will
No.
say it is on record that I was saying Doom Guy before the rest of the community. So
I mean, I think that this game has just been so cool to see it evolve. Ever since I started playing Smash Brothers on the N64 when I was little, it's just so cool to see how Smash Brothers has just evolved. And so many people talk about it. My mom is a high school teacher. And I remember when, I can't remember which DLC character it was. It was actually Steve. I remember when Steve was revealed, her students in high school were talking about it. Like, everybody was talking about how Steve was suddenly in Smash
it
Brothers.
broke Twitter.
Yeah. It's nuts. And I think that just shows how big and important of a series Smash Brothers is.
And it's so successful. It's like what I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it's around like the 24 million mark, right? And
I
like
think so.
Smash 4 was what, like 6 million? Like this was huge. The biggest Smash Bros game before this was I believe Brawl at like 13 million. So that this has almost doubled Brawl.
Yeah, in millions of units. From what I can see just off of a very fast Google search, as of March 2021, Smash Bros. Ultimate sold about 24 million units. That doesn't include DLC. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's
so
actually more than Breath of the Wild now by
Yeah.
about 500,000. Or no, 1.5 million.
So I'm sure this isn't the last we've seen of Smash.
Oh, absolutely not. It's
Nintendo's
too
not
popular.
going to like let that go.
Yeah.
Whether Sakurai's there or not, I think we'll get another Smash Bros with the Switch 2
Yeah,
or whatever the next console is.
I agree. I mean, I have here in our notes, we've kind of talked about pretty much everything now about the impact of the game and the new characters that were added. Something that I wrote down earlier today about hopes for the future of the series are like, I don't know if the Switch 2 is going to get a brand new game or not. I mean, it'll depend on how backwards compatible the Switch 2 is to the Switch. If it's mostly just an upgrade to the Switch that can now finally handle 4K gaming, then maybe they'll just release some sort of patch to Ultimate or DLC to make it so that it runs in 4K or something. But I mean, the way that the game is now, I think that they could just keep taking that game and pushing it up to the next platform and I'd still buy it.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Like just add 10, 15 characters.
The mechanics are great. Game looks beautiful. I think it works really well.
I think if you want to market it as another game, though, you might, I don't know. Like, I'm going to say that you probably should do a little bit more than just add more characters, like maybe a Subspace Emissary. But at the same time, I think Nintendo learned with Mario Kart 8 that you really don't need to do that.
Nope. We still don't have a new Mario Kart game, and it's been 4 years since the Switch released.
So with Switch 2, we might get a Mario Kart 8 scenario where it's just Smash Ultimate Deluxe, and it has 5 new characters, no DLC, and that's just it.
It has all of the DLC from Smash Ultimate included now, and that's it.
Oh, so it doesn't get anything new. Oh man, you're brutal.
mean, the only new stuff we got in Mario Kart 8 was like a couple of characters to play as. There were no new stages. There was nothing. And well, I guess 200cc mode, but
honestly can see this happening. Yeah. We just get Smash Ultimate Deluxe and it's just the DLC added on. $60, sells 30 million units, and Nintendo fans will do an outcry, but it won't matter because so many copies of it will be sold.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, Sakurai has put so much work into this. I also want to bring up that I kind of hope that he takes a break from Smash Brothers so that if he wants to continue working on video games, if he's not retiring, that he can work on other things. I think that the Smash Brothers team and the other internal folks that have worked closely with Sakurai for years now can do the Mario Kart 8 situation with Smash Brothers and just do these incremental updates, and Smash will thrive without Sakurai.
Yeah,
I mean, he can be a consultant and a producer, but yeah.
I've always said ever since, well, for a while, like, if you've ever listened to our old podcast, I was kind of a big on the idea that I kind of want to see a Smash Bros. Headed by someone new. Not that Sakurai is not great. Sakurai is phenomenal. I don't think any director is going to do as good of a job as Sakurai.
I agree
But
with that.
I'm really hungry for kind of that like different viewpoint that a different director could bring in.
Same. Honestly, I agree.
So not that like I'm not to disrespect Sakurai. Like he's fantastic. I love his work. I really love his other games, though. I would love for him to make Kid Icarus 2 or something.
Yes, I was about to bring that up. Please give us more Kid Icarus games.
And then give me a Smash Bros. With kind of a different vision behind it. Even if the next Smash Bros. Isn't as good as Ultimate. Honestly, it most likely wouldn't be as good as Smash Ultimate. But I really just want that different kind of viewpoint. Different paradigm shift.
I agree. So much Smash Brothers talks. Jordan, can you believe we've been talking about it for like an hour and 10 minutes?
Honestly, I could just keep going and on and on and on. Like we haven't really even touched like the single player stuff.
No, we haven't. I mean, just briefly mentioning them, like we got World of Light, which had baked into it so many interesting battles, some that were really easy, some that were incredibly challenging and difficult, especially on the harder modes.
I would have liked World of Light more had we gotten some more like cutscenes, a bit more of a story.
I agree.
And I liked the idea of the spirit battles, but I need something to mix it up a little bit more than just repetitive spirit battles over and over and over again. And there were just too many of them.
I
agree.
agree.
If you added in a few more boss fights and also some like a few platforming levels and then spaced those out with spirit battles, I think you would have had a much better experience.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I played through the whole thing and I was enjoying it the entire time, but I never want to play through it again.
No, I did it once. I don't need to do it ever again.
Yep, I 100%ed it. I got every single spirit, and I don't want to do it again. So there's that. We got regular spirit board stuff, which took a lot of those spirit fights, but then kind of expanded them out depending on the DLC. Every DLC fighter got their own. That was kind of cool. Fun way to bring in some of the history around their games.
Yeah, I wish that you could just like select any spirit you wanted to fight at the time, though, rather than whatever randomization they had going on was.
On the actual board. That wasn't the DLC board. Yeah, it's like I already have like that one, and I have it 6 times. Why is it still here? Then we got classic mode. Classic mode was really quite welcome, especially since we didn't really have one in Smash 4. Especially since each one was specially catered to individual characters.
Yeah, I think that actually makes it my favorite classic mode. Just having that kind of like theme to it so that you're not playing the same classic mode over and over again 100 times.
Right.
I do wish that they made the boss at the end a bit more varied. You fight Master Hand way too many times. I am very surprised that Sephiroth isn't the final boss for Sora.
Right.
That made no sense, but whatever.
A cool, fun addition would have been a couple more boss fights. I mean, even if they weren't that challenging, it would have been cool to have them added as boss fights like they did with Dracula. But whatever. We pay the DLC for the new characters, not necessarily the content that goes around the character. Besides the music, of course, that absolutely every time is what we're paying for as well. But yeah, I mean, I can't think of really anything else from classic mode. We did get home run contest, but that was added later, wasn't it? I'm trying to remember.
It was added later. I'm not a huge fan of home run contest, I'll be honest.
It was fun in Melee.
Yeah.
But I haven't cared ever since.
I would have really liked getting a break the targets. I know 90 break the targets would have been a lot of work.
Yeah, it would have. But break the targets in Melee was how you would learn some of the more advanced methods of movement for characters.
Yeah. Honestly, I think you could have had a pretty interesting break the targets if you just sent a couple interns at the problem, but
Yeah. I
whatever.
mean, they could have literally used the stage builder from that's in the game and had them just draw out maps and play around with it that way as interns, but
Yeah.
oh well. That's okay. I don't think it was missed too much in the long run. It would have been cool to have for sure, but I mean, I didn't see a lot of people saying, "Where's my break the targets?" I do hope that the next version of Smash fixes the internet connectivity stuff. I know they have to do peer to peer, but seriously, Nintendo, it's 2021. What the heck?
As long as Smash is made by a Japanese development team, I don't think they ever will, because I don't think the Japanese development team understands how bad their internet connectivity is outside of Japan.
Yeah.
With Japan being such a closely, densely populated area, I don't think they, I don't think they notice it. To be honest.
Good point. That's a really good point. But who knows? Maybe they'll finally consult with the North American teams. And speaking of consulting, I hope that the next iterations of Smash will listen more to the competitive scene and community. I know that they feel like they haven't really been heard in a lot of ways with patch and balance updates, where like some characters are just so incredibly broken in the competitive community still that they have to work around that rather than Nintendo trying to actually patch them. There's also the fact that there are a lot of really great casual stages with hazards, but they are completely unplayable when it comes to competitive because your spawn position gives huge advantage to whoever makes it over there. So there are only 10 stages that actually work competitively. So maybe
honestly, I don't know if you ever want more than 10 character or 10 stages competitively, because
true.
when you have too many stages legal, it kind of muddies up how stage bannings goes.
Yeah.
Then do you start banning 10 stages? If you have 30 legal stages, how are you able to narrow it down so that your opponent's not getting a huge advantage off of one of the legal stages?
That's a good point. I don't know.
Even if I don't know. I think 10 to 15 stages is perfectly reasonable for a competitive standpoint.
I wish that there were two modes for hazards though, where one would still let you have moving platforms.
Yeah.
And then the other would disable everything. Because
the way the turning
it's
off
not
hazards
great.
worked is kind of odd, honestly.
Yeah. It turns off everything about the stage, so the stage is entirely completely static. Nothing happens. The competitive scene has to turn on hazards, but then they only have their handful that they can still use. Like the Animal Crossing stages, town and city or whatever. Those ones they have to have hazards on, or else the platforms don't move like they should. It's weird.
I will say this game definitely listened to the competitive community a lot more than past Smash games.
Oh, absolutely.
So Nintendo's making an improvement, but they have a long ways to go. And honestly,
Yeah.
I don't think they'll ever get there.
No,
I'll
probably
be
not.
perfectly honest. Nintendo is only interested in competitive so long as they can make a quick, easy buck off of it.
Right. Like all of the Splatoon 2 tournaments that they've done. They don't listen to the Splatoon 2 community at all.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's all
Nintendo wants esports so long as they don't have to put the work into it.
exactly. They don't want to really sponsor any of it. But I guess to kind of now wrap up our discussion a little bit, we've kind of talked about some of these points, but I just want to reiterate that we both think that Smash Ultimate is an incredible game. If you haven't purchased it and you have a Switch, you absolutely should. It is a celebration of gaming. It's really fun to play with family and friends. The way that the game works, even from a casual standpoint, is interesting and really great for parties. Honestly, if you're listening to this podcast and you've never played Smash Brothers before, I don't know what to say, but Smash Ultimate has been such a really fun ride. Ever since its announcement with the Inkling characters down to the final announcement with Sora and Sora's release, everything in between has just been a really fun time, with a couple of exceptions as we've noted. But honestly, I give Smash Bros. Ultimate a straight up 10 out of 10 over the years. Super fun game, super great mechanics, really awesome celebration of gaming. I think it's just wonderful.
I promise we don't give 10 out of 10s all the time because this will be the second podcast in a row. Two for two. But yeah, I will say 10 out of 10 here. I am known for being a lot more cynical. So
Yes, he is. You'll see in future episodes as we talk about other games, Jordan will start giving things 6s or whatever.
But I guess we're starting off with games that we're very passionate about.
Yeah, which honestly are great first episodes for a podcast about Nintendo. So you'll get all the critical stuff from us later. Anything else you want to say about Smash Ultimate, Jordan?
Honestly, this is going to go down as probably my favorite Smash Bros game ever made. It's going to be really hard to beat. I don't think it's going to be beaten unless if it's just like ported again with more characters, because then it's just strictly better at that point, right?
Right.
But really good mechanics. Obviously, there are like some shortcomings I wish could be fixed, but the amount that we got in this game was incredible. Good job, Sakurai. You blew us away. And I can't wait to see what comes next from Sakurai.
Same here. Well, I guess that wraps up our discussion on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and its final sunset. We are at the end of its life, basically. It's been great and a fun ride. Just a couple of things as we wrap up the episode this time. Just want to let you know that our podcast is live pretty much everywhere. Please give us a review if you've enjoyed the podcast so far. It helps new folks find us and get the word spread around. You can find all of the platforms that we're available on at anchor.fm/NintenFusion. That'll also have links to all of our social accounts that we're on so that you can follow us and get updates as well. We've also made a Discord server that we're now opening up to the public. It's our NintenFusion Discord server. If you want to join us and talk about pretty much anything Nintendo, check out nintenfusion.com/Discord. That is nintenfusion.com/Discord. That'll send you right to the Discord invite link. And with all of that said, thank you so much for listening to this episode of NintenFusion on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I've been David and
Jordan.
We'll work on that outro. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.